Hello everyone, welcome to Jolly Molly TV. Today we're going to do another fun block in Kimberbell's Quilting Through the Seasons ladder quilt project. Today's block is going to be the square block right here with the 4 squares, and we're going to do this one down here as well. So we're going to make 2 of them. So if you're ready, let's head over to our machine and let's get started stitching. So for this block, we're actually going to start at the sewing machine, all right? And I want you to get out the plastic pouch system that you have that's labeled number 14 and number 15, 4 square 1 and 4 square 2. This is what we need to be able to start these blocks. Okay, so I'm going to put 4 square 2 off to one side. And now I'm going to focus on the fabrics that are in 4 square number 1. Okay, this is going to be fairly easy to do, even if you're a beginner. We have 4 pieces of fabric. These are really pretty fabrics if you have the kit. And we're going to line them up so we have this striped fabric facing up. Then we're going to put the mint green floral fabric and kind of figure out which direction you want that to be. I'm placing mine so like the flowers are swirling kind of upward. Then I want to put the black polka dots below that and the white with the gold underneath that to the left. Okay, and I've got a bobbin with white thread down below and just some white thread up on top, and we're going to sew these together. All right, so I'm going to take this square here and this square here, and I'm going to turn them over right sides together. This is going to be the stitch side. Okay, so I'm taking that and I'm going to line it up just like that, and I'm going to take either some pins or my favorites, my clover clips, and I'm actually going to just gently clip those so they don't move when I'm sewing them. Pins work great too. I just like clover clips because I don't end up bleeding all over my fabric, because I will always poke myself with pins. It's just something that I do, and it's like I try to be really careful and the pin wins. It gets me every time. All right, so now I'm going to put the fabric and make sure that the fabric is underneath the needle. I've also put a 1/4 inch foot with a guide on it here. So as long as I keep my fabric up against the guide, I get a real nice 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, so now I'm going to take a couple stitches. I'm going to back tack. Okay, and then I'm going to sew all the way down, stopping when I get to a clover clip. And keep sewing, stop, and start. And then I'm going to back tack a little bit, and then I'm done. Cut my threads. So you're probably wondering why I don't use my foot pedal. I'm using the start and stop buttons on my machine. Well, my precious baby, my dog, is underneath my feet and accidentally likes to step on the pedal with either her hind legs or her tail. So then she would be controlling the sewing machine. So when she's in here with me, I tend to use my start and stop button so that I don't lose control of the machine when she's trying to drive. Okay, so I've got those sewn together. That looks okay. So now I'm going to go to my ironing board and I want to press that seam open. And I'll meet you right back here. Okay, so now I've got that seam nice and flat. I'm going to lay that back down in the order that I want. And always remember, for this design, you want the black fabrics, if you're using the kit, to be diagonal from each other. Okay, so now I'm going to take this black one, put it over, place it right sides together, and this is going to be the sew side. So I'm going to pick it up, line it up as good as I can get it, center, end, and end, and now we're going to sew this with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, here we go. Same thing, you've got this. Foot down, on the fabric, not off. Make sure it's on the fabric. Take a couple stitches, back tack, and a couple, sew forward. As long as I keep that fabric up against that 1/4 inch guide, like I said earlier, I get a really nice 1/4 inch seam allowance. Get to the end and back tack. Okay, cut my thread. And there we go. Okay, now I'm going to take this over to my ironing board. I want to press this seam open. Okay, so you can see I got that seam pressed open. I'm going to lay it back down in the direction that I want it to be. Remember, the black should be diagonal to each other. I'm going to flip it over, right sides together. This is going to be the sew line. So I'm going to grab these, and now when I center these, I'm going to start with the seam, and you can actually see the seams go up against each other and line up perfectly. I'm not the greatest at doing some of these seams. My seams are not always perfect, but I do the best I can, and that's what matters. Okay, don't like that. Let's do this a little bit better. And you might not be perfectly centered on the end. That just means that one piece of fabric was cut slightly longer than the other. Now that I've got these all clipped up, I want to double check this center, because I can see that seam is up against the other seam, and I want to clip it. Okay, so that is what we're going to go with. All right, and there's still wiggle room when it comes to doing the last part of this block, which is going to be the quilting, and you'll see that there'll be even fabric that will end up cutting off. So I know that I don't have to be 100% perfect. Just do the best you can. All right, so I'm going to put the needle on the fabric, take a couple stitches, back tack, and sew forward. Keep the fabric up against the guide on your 1/4 inch foot if you have one. Now we're at the center, and I want to make sure that this fabric goes under. There we go. If it didn't, I can just stop, lift the foot, and make that fabric go underneath. Okay, and we're going to go to the end and then back tack. Okay. And let's see how we did. Moment of truth. Is it close? Close, right on. I don't get that lucky. I've done many quilts where I have been like a hair off and a hair off, and then it's like I just can't seem to get a perfect seam. But that one, I will take it. All right, I'll take it. All right, so now I want you to take this over to your ironing board, and I want you to press open this seam, and I'll meet you right back here. I am perfectly happy with that. It's right on. It's a good day. Okay, so now that we've got that one done, that is square one. Now I want you to get your supplies, your plastic pouch system, for that 4 square number 2, and we're going to do the exact same thing. And guess what? It's the exact same fabrics in the exact same position. So that one goes there, that one goes on the bottom. Let's see, which way do I want my flowers? Decisions I have to make. This is so hard. There you go. And then up and down a little bit there. Okay, so this is the same exact thing. We're just going to make an identical block just like we did here. Okay, so what am I going to do first? This one, right sides together. This is the sew line. And I'm going to line her up as best I can. and pin or clip away. There we go. You got this, okay? 1/4 inch seam allowance. Here we go. Don't forget to back tack at the beginning and at the end. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. And got those two together. So now I'm going to press open that seam. Okay, that seam is pressed down. There we go there. Let's move this little guy out of the way a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing. Flip it over. Right sides together. This is my sew side. Grab them and line them up as best you can. Threads and all. Okay, and now we're going to sew on this side. Here we go. Don't forget to back tack. Okay, and here we go. Okay, see how this did. All right, those are done. So now let's go to the ironing board and let's press open that seam. Okay, that seam is pressed open. Now lay it in position, making sure you have your black fabric diagonal, and you're gonna turn it over, right sides together, and this is the sew side. And I'm going to line up this center seam. It's actually looking good right now, but I want to make sure that I get it into position. Those seams are nesting right there. Okay. And then line the rest of it up. I tend to put more clips on it than I probably need to, but I like to have it more secure in place than not. All right, there we go. And then again, I'm going to double check that seam. That looks okay. All right, so now let's do this. Let's do our last seam. Here we go. Don't forget to back tack. It just helps secure it in place so it doesn't unravel as you're putting the project together. Okay, now I'm gotta make sure that I get that fabric under. There we go. For the seam. And one more. Back tack. Trim the thread. And let's see how we did. Fingers crossed. Moment of truth. Ha ha, I'll take it. Today is a good day. Look at that. Wow, I never get that perfect. Okay, so now I take this over to the ironing board and we're going to press open that seam. All right, so I got that seam nice and flat. And look at you. You just sewed together those two square blocks. So now that part's done. Now I'm going to take you over to the embroidery machine and I'm going to show you how to add quilting to these two blocks. I also want to give a huge shout out. Again, thank you so much to My Girlfriend's Quilt Shop for sponsoring me and sending me the CD, the embellishments, and the fabric kit in order so that I can show you how to make this project. If you still need some of these supplies for this project, please visit My Girlfriend's Quilt Shop using the link down below and help me give them a big thanks for supporting me and enabling me to make this video series for you. Huge thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, My Girlfriend's Quilt Shop. Okay, now we're at the embroidery machine. I have a bobbin with white thread down below, and I have loaded my 5x7" hoop with a poly no-show mesh stabilizer. And now let's go to the screen cam and load the design. I have a Baby Lock Destiny, which is identical to the Brother Dream machine. If you have something similar, you can follow along. I'm going to go to embroidery, and then I'm going to go to my flash drive. I'm going to go to Quilting Through the Seasons folder, and I'm going to go to Quilting Designs. Now, you can do any of these 4 designs that you want. You can design and make this block however you want. So I'm going to choose to do 1 block in stars and 1 block in time. So I'm going to go to stars for my first one, and I'm going to look for a 4x4" design, which is this one right here. So I'm going to click on that one. That's the one I want, and I'm going to click set. It brings it in centered. I don't have to do anything to it or add anything else, so I just click embroidery. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to the hoop cam, and I'm going to put a color of thread up above that I want to do my quilting in. And I think that ivory is going to look really well because it's going to blend in here. It'll stand out a little bit here, and then it'll really stand out on those 2 black blocks. So I think that's the color thread I'm going to put in my machine. It's kind of a beige ivory. I'm going to use that thread for every single step in this block. Okay, so I've got it loaded up above. Now I'm going to put the foot down and stitch out the placement line for the batting. While you're waiting, you can go and get a piece of batting out, and it's going to be a 5x5" square piece of batting. Okay, here we go. Here's the placement line. Okay, so now I'm going to put my piece of batting down, making sure that it's going to cover all sides of that placement line. And when it does, put the foot down, and let's tack down this batting. Okay, so now I want you to take your hoop off the machine and go to a table, and I want you to trim around and cut off all the excess of the batting outside that stitch line, and I'll meet you right back here. Okay, so now that is all trimmed up nicely. Now I'm going to put the foot down and stitch out the placement line for the fabric. Here we go. Okay, so now I'm going to put the fabric down and make sure that it covers that placement line, and it does. And now what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to center it, okay, which will be a little bit of a challenge. So I'm going to put it up so it's at the top of that placement line, and then I'm going to look and see, have a little bit, about 1/4 inch. That's a little bit more than 1/4 inch. So I can bring it down just a little bit. Doesn't have to be perfect, but I want to try to center it using my fingers to feel for the batting as well, because that's going to help try to put the center of this block in the center of the square. And you can make sure your seams are placed flat, which they are, and I think that looks good. This one is actually in a better position than the last video that I did because that block didn't have any excess on the edge at all. It was literally up against the edge and wouldn't get tacked down with this step. This one we have a little bit of room. I like that and I like that, so that's where we're going to go. So get it as centered as you can by feeling for the batting and looking for the lines, and then put the foot down, and then we're going to tack this fabric down. Here we go. Now I am happy with that. I've got a little bit more here on the bottom, but that's okay. And I've got a good equal amount on the side. So I'm happy with this. If for some reason you're not happy with this layout, all you have to do is take your seam ripper and rip out this basting stitch that's around the outside and reposition it, and then go back one stitch on your machine and re-stitch this line again. So just in case it's too far down and you're not happy with it, that's how you fix it. I'm ready to do the quilting, and that's going to be a 3-minute in real life stitch out using the same color thread that's up on top. Enjoy. That turned out very nice. I am happy with that. Cool. All right, so now we're going to do this same process all over again. So you can rewind this video and start again with using the same steps. But what I want to do first is show you how to load the other design. So let's go to the screen cam. It says I'm finished embroidering. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to go to my home button and delete the selected pattern. OK. So now the memory is empty. I'm going to go back to embroidery, back to my flash drive, back to Quilting Through the Seasons, and back to Quilting Designs. Now you can choose any one of these designs you want. I'm going to go with time, and I'm looking for the 4 by 4 inch. So I'm going to choose to do this one here, which is the 4 by 4, which is horizontal. So it's going like you would read it, okay? So I think that will be a good stitch out on this block. So I'm going to click set, and then I'm going to click embroidery because I don't have to do anything to it. And I go back to the hoop cam, and then what I'll do is I'm going to check the position in the quilt with the book, and I see this one's up here that has time, and it has the black standing upright and the black is standing upright. Kimberbell did both of them in the time pattern that we're going to do now, but they have this black in the upper corner on both. So we have the quilting design here in the correct position because it's going to stitch this way like you would read it. And I'm going to make sure I place this next one down when I do it in the same position with the black vertical up here and the mint green on the right. All right. So let's fast forward through this. You can either rewind and watch this again or watch my fast forward version of me making this second block. Let's go. Amazing. Look at these 2 blocks. Isn't that cool? Let's get the stabilizer out of the way. Those are awesome. Good job. Okay, so now I want you to take the hoop off the machine, take both blocks over to the table, and I'm going to show you how to finish them up. Okay, now we're at the table. So the last thing we have to do is square these blocks up. So they're 4.5 inches by 4.5 inches square. We're going to look for this outer stitch line, and that's going to be where we're going to, measure as it flies away. I'm going to put the second block to the side for right now, and let's measure it and see what that outer stitch line measures. From here to here, it's 4.5. And from top to bottom, it's just a hair shy of 4.5. So we're right on. So I'm going to turn the block to the side. I'm going to look for this stitch line, and this stitch line is really straight. So I'm going to lay the ruler right on top and go just a smidge to the right of that stitch line. Can I see that stitch line? Yes, I can. I'm going to make my first cut. I'm going to turn it around, put it on my mat. I'm at 17 because my ruler is going from 24 to 1. So I'm at 17, so I want to go down to 13.5. Line my ruler up on the mat on that 13.5. Make sure I'm good over here. Can I see that stitch line? Yes, it's just under the ruler, so I can make that first cut. Now I'm going to turn the block to the side. I'm going to use the bottom, because I now know it's straight, to line it up with the ruler over here, and then line it up with that stitch line. Can I see that stitch line? Yes, it's just a hair underneath. So we only have one more cut to do on this block. So I'm going to line it up. So say 15. I'm now going to go to 11.5 on the mat. Line that up. Line this ruler line up with the bottom of the fabric, because I know this part is straight. And then I'm going to ask myself, can I see the stitch line? Yes, I can. It's right underneath that ruler. Dun, da, da, da. So you squared up block number 1. So now let's put that to the side, and we're going to do the same thing with block number 2. Same technique. Line it up, move it just a smidgen past that stitch line. Can I see the stitch line? Yes, I can. Okay, turn this over. Let's go 16, so I go to 12.5. And I can even put this ruler line here on the other stitch line. Make sure that I'm level over here. I'm on the mat, and can I see that stitch line? Yes, it's just underneath the ruler. It's my mental note that says, yes, I'm cutting in the right spot. Okay, I'm going to go to this stitch line, go just a smidgen past it. I've lined my ruler up with this fabric here because I know this is straight. Can I see that stitch line? Yes, I can. Make that cut. Come over here and do the same thing. 16 goes to 12.5. Line my ruler up on the mat. Reposition my block because it moved. Okay, line up the bottom with this line on the ruler, and my ruler's on the mat. 12.5. Can I see that stitch line? Yes, I can. It's just under the ruler. And you have just squared up both blocks. Isn't that fun? Very cool. Congratulations, you did it. So I hope you had as much fun today making these 2 blocks as I have. And I hope you stay tuned here on Jolly Molly TV for more fun and more blocks in Kimberbell's fun project, Quilting Through the Seasons. And until I see you next time, take care and happy stitching. Bye-bye.